to those who need Jesus Christ, when you see a life changed and a family freed up, where they don't have to carry the weight of the bondage of confusion and doubt and questions, and husbands get it, and wives get it, and their children get the results of it, and you see harmony, peace, and joy within the home. It's as easy as that. But it goes back to laying your life on the altar, being selfless, giving Him everything, surrendering to Him, being a living sacrifice, where it's not about you sacrifice for others. You sacrifice and you give your life to God, and you serve His people and His mission. This all means that we are to lay down the ambitions and desires of the body and commit ourselves to doing nothing but that which God bids us to do. We are to be His vessels through which we can live and complete His work on this world, in this world. Hebrews chapter 11, verse 19. Let me give you a picture of what it means to be a living sacrifice. God asked Abraham to give his son as a sacrifice. What? In the Old Testament? Yes. Not a spotless lamb. He wanted him to give his son. It's not easy. But Abraham, being a man of righteousness and holiness, was willing. Abraham was willing to submit absolutely everything to God and to trust Him no matter how great the demand and how devastating the sacrifice, because he knew God would be faithful. He knew that God loved him. He knew that He would be faithful. He also knew He had the power to bring him back. But he knew one thing. If God demanded it, He was going to give it. Even if it didn't make sense, I trust my God. And it doesn't have to make sense to me. If you want my son to be a sacrifice, then I'm going to give it. Well, I'm not going to like it. I'm not going to understand it. But my obedience and my righteousness goes to the highest level. And I will say yes. Maturity. Maturity. The good thing is God did not require the sacrifice to be carried out. Both had already offered the real sacrifice God really wanted. The willingness to give to Him everything that He held dear. That's what the sacrifice was carried out. Was His son burned on the offering? Absolutely not. It's not what He wanted. He wanted Abraham to give him everything. And Abraham said yes. God wants us to give Him everything. Every area of your life. Our will, our emotions, our desires, everything surrendered to Him. God must be in absolute control of our will, our emotions, passions, deeds, and our thoughts. Therefore, I urge you, brothers and sisters, in the view of God's mercy, to offer your bodies as a living sacrifice, holy and pleasing to Him. This is your true and proper worship. Holy and pleasing to Him. Holy and pleasing. This is what He wants. When, in the Old Testament, the sacrifice of the lamb was supposed to be without spot or blemish. The best. That's what God demanded. When Jesus was given, God gave His best, His Son, as a sacrifice. Here, He's saying, look, I want you to be a living sacrifice. I want you to be a living sacrifice, holy and pleasing. He wants your best. Don't just give Him half-hearted. He wants your very best. He wants your best time. He wants your best effort. He wants your best love. He wants your best servant. If you're going to serve Him with everything you've got. If you're going to love Him with reckless abandonment. We talked about worship being extravagant love and extreme obedience. Give Him your very best. If you're going to be a father, be the best father you can be. If you're going to be a best husband, be the best husband you're going to be. Don't settle for mediocre or average. Your wife and your kids demand better of you. And so does your God. Why? Because of the therefore. Because of all the things in chapter 1 through 11. Therefore, offer yourself, give Him, make yourself a living sacrifice, and give Him your very best. Give Him your righteousness, your holiness. We can do that. A lot of times we don't. We give Him what's left over. He's not on the list of priorities. He is the priority, and we should never forget that. Why? Because He can do so much more with our lives than we could ever. God demands a sacrifice to be without spot or blemish. Your best. He gave His best. Our supreme worship is more than prayer, praise, and thanksgiving. We are to offer ourselves fully and continually to the Lord as living sacrifices. You willing to do that? That's what God demands. That's what God wants. He wants you to be a living sacrifice. You ready to move forward in maturity? It's not easy. It's not easy to move towards maturity. That's why so many Christians, they've just become stagnant in their own ways. It's not easy to give things up. It's not easy to deny and to pull away from self-desires. But let me tell you this. What is gained when you give up to God is immeasurable. It is immeasurable. If we want to be a church in this community that will serve and be a force in the spiritual realm, we have to be a church of maturity. Where we give up our own thoughts, our own desires, or how things are done, or how things were done. And we must go to God in prayer for our future in direction. And that's where we to do, not just me. Oh, the pastor gone. Oh, not just me. It's all of us. We should be in prayer for who we want to be and where we want to go and what type of ministry we want to be in this community. And we're all in this together. God has no hands but your hands, no feet but your feet, and no voice but your voice. You speak for Him. You are His ambassador. And it's time for the church to wake up and make a difference in this nation. We celebrate the 4th of July. We talked about praying for our nation. Now it's time to be a living sacrifice in our nation and to give our best to God and to others. Can we do that? Can we do that as a church? Can we do that as a church? Let me pray for you as we go into a short time of invitation. I'm going to pray for you, and then